Hello students, my name is Vaishali and I welcome you all to this presentation. The name of the topic is globalization. So let's get started. So let's begin our discussion on globalization. Now I'm sure students that you are already aware of this term as it has changed human lives in a variety of ways and it still continues to change it. This growing integration of societies and national economies is one of the highly discussed topics of recent times. So let's begin by giving a very general, simple definition of globalization. Globalization refers to the free cross-border movement of goods, services, capital, information as well as people. It erodes national boundaries and integrates national economies, cultures, technologies, governance, leading to complex relations of mutual interdependence. So mutual interdependence is the key word here when we discuss globalization. Now there is this buzzword known as global village. This is a term used to describe the collapse of space and time barriers in human communication, especially by using World Wide Web, which enables people to interact on a global scale. Generally, globalization is referred to as economic globalization, which means free movement of factors of production, labor as well as capital. But it is not just the economic integration, but also various other aspects like cultural and political integration across the world. So therefore, globalization is defined as the process of integration and convergence of economic, financial, cultural and political systems across the world. So let's discuss these three aspects of globalization: economic globalization, cultural globalization and political globalization in detail further. Let's look at what is economic globalization. So the term globalization is widely used in business circles and economics to describe the increasing internationalization of markets, be it for goods and services, financial systems, corporations, industries, technology and competition. In globalized economy, we say that distances and national boundaries have substantially diminished and the obstacles to market access have been removed. And besides, there have been reductions in transaction cost as well. There is compression of time and distance in international transactions, as we all have witnessed. So I would say that globalization is characterized by growing interdependence of various facets. For example, if we talk about foreign direct investment, so FDI is the transfer of technology, know-how, along with the movement of capital, for example, equity or international loans, royalties, etc., generating export of goods and services from investor countries. So next we are discussing cultural globalization. Cultural globalization refers to the transmission of ideas, meanings, values around the world in such a way so that we intensify and extend the social relations among people of different countries. This process is marked by the common consumption of cultures that have been diffused by internet, popular culture media and international travel. Now, this process has added to commodity exchange, which has a longer history of carrying cultural meaning around the world. And this circulation of culture enables individuals to extend their social relations across national and regional boundaries. Now, one thing to note here is that this creation and expansion of social relations is just not merely observed on a material level. We are not just talking about exchanging of commodities. In fact, cultural globalization involves formation of shared norms and knowledge, which helps people in forming individual as well as collective cultural identities. So along with commodity exchange, there is formation of individual and collective cultural identities. Now for example, if we talk about India, India has rich cultural heritage and a glorious history of globalization, which is evident even today, as it has a profound impact on people and their lives. Now, we just mentioned about pop culture and how globalization has led to the development of global pop culture. For example, Coca-Cola is sold in more countries than UN even has members. According to a study, Coke is claimed to be the second most universally understood word after the word OK. Another example would be of McDonald's. It has more than 30,000 local restaurants which are serving more than 52 million people every day in around 100 countries and even more. Levi's jeans are sold in more than 110 countries. So these are just some of the examples of how globalization has penetrated our lives on a daily basis. Next is political globalization. Now, political globalization refers to the growth of worldwide political system, both in size and complexity. One of the key aspects of political globalization is the declining importance of nation states and rise of other factors on the political scene. So the creation and existence of UN is called one of the classic examples of political globalization. So political globalization includes national governments, their governmental and intergovernmental organizations, as well as government independent elements of global civil society such as national, international non-governmental organizations and social movement organizations. So after covering the various aspects of globalization, that is economic, cultural and political, we would be discussing the dimensions of economic globalization in detail in our discussion. So let's discuss globalization of production, markets, competition, technology and globalization of corporations and industries in detail. First is globalization of production. So because of the increased mobility of factors of production, especially the movement of capital, has changed countries' traditional specialization roles significantly. So globalization of production refers to the tendency among many firms to source their goods and services from different locations around the globe so that they are able to take the advantage of national differences in cost and quality of production, factors of production like labor, energy, land and capital. As a result, many firms in developing countries seek to strengthen their competitive advantage and they just specialize in the differentiated products with an increasingly large technological content. Such specialization has given rise to intra-industry trade between developing countries, and many firms have established cooperative agreements or adopted strategies of mergers and acquisitions or network organizations, which has contributed to a growth in FDI during recent times. Moreover, the privatization has also accelerated cross-border investments. So the globalization of production has led to multinational origin of product components, services and capital as a result of transnational collaboration among business firms. Today, firms evaluate various locations worldwide for manufacturing so that they can take advantage of local resources, optimize their manufacturing competitiveness. Many developing countries today are chosen as site for manufacturing products, and then these are exported later at a cheaper cost. Next, we are discussing globalization of competition. Now this refers to the intensification of competition among business players on a global scale. This has resulted in the emergence of new strategic transnational alliances among companies across the world. Increasingly, more firms need to compete with new players from around the globe in their own markets as well as foreign ones. So we can say that to cope up with the global competition, firms need to simultaneously harness their skills and generate synergy by a broad range of specialized skills such as technological, financial, industrial, commercial, located in different countries or even different continents. Next is globalization of corporate and industries. So this worldwide economic liberalization has led to the rapid growth in FDIs, and we have seen that a lot of business enterprises have relocated driven by various forms of international strategic alliances across the world. So as a result, there has been widespread rise in the fragmentation of production processes whereby different stages of production for a given product are carried out in different countries.
So now let's discuss the factors that restrain globalization. First is regulatory controls. So the restrictions imposed by national governments by way of regulatory measures in their trade, industrial, or monetary and fiscal policies restrain companies from global expansion. For example, restraints on portfolio and foreign direct investment have considerably influenced the monetary and capital flows across borders. Another example would be high imposition of tax on import. So import duty is high, and this makes the goods highly uncompetitive and deters them from entering domestic markets. Another point is emerging trade barriers. Now, although the integration of national economies under WTO framework has restrained countries from increasing tariffs and imposing explicitly some non-tariff barriers. Still, however, some countries, they consistently are evolving their innovative marketing barriers, especially the developed countries. So they make their marketing strategies such that they can impose some quality and technical specification related barriers or environmental issues related barriers or regulations related to human exploitation such as child labor. So all these technical jargons and justifications are often involved by developed countries so that they can impose restrictions over goods which come from developing countries. And developing countries find it very hard to defend against such measures. Next is cultural factors. Now, cultural factors can also restrain the benefits of globalization. For example, France's collective nationalism favors its own homegrown agriculture, and because of the fear of terrorism in the US, they find it difficult to manage their ports and they have restrained the entry of Dubai Port World.
Let's look at some of the advantages of globalization. So globalization has improved relations among countries. Many countries these days have peaceful relations as they trade with each other to boost their economies, and this way they have left behind any bitter experiences of the past. Secondly, globalization has improved employment opportunities worldwide since immigration between countries has increased. Then globalization has promoted tourism to great heights. Now there are many places that have tourism as their main source of capital generation. Last but not the least, external borrowing. It has often been seen that a poor country is unable to provide adequate financing to its companies, which used to prove to be an obstacle in the development of the country as a whole. Now with the help of globalization, there is an opportunity to borrow beyond country's border. Companies have access to external finance, which leads to their growth. So let's look at the disadvantages of globalization. So globalization has led to unemployment since in order to cut down cost, many firms in developed nations have outsourced their manufacturing and white collar jobs to third world countries like India and China, where cost of labor is low. This has caused a lot of resentment among people of developed countries, and companies have been accused of taking their jobs away. Globalization has led to an increase in activities such as child labor and slavery. So, in countries where there is no accountability, corporations employ children by bribing officials. So, globalization has led to an increase in illegal activities. Next is dumping of waste. It is not just the developed nations that are complaining about the negative effects of globalization. So people in developing countries where most of the industries have been set up are complaining that their cities have been reduced to garbage dumps where all the industrial waste is accumulated and pollution levels are high. Another major disadvantage of globalization is increasing health problem. Fast food chains like McDonald's and KFCs are spreading fast in developing world. People are consuming more junk food which has adverse effect on their health.